Hello students. In the previous class, I started the unit first, the diversity in the living organism, and the first chapter of this unit, the living world. In this class I told you that the living organisms have the five important features: growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness. And we already discussed growth. I told you when the organism is increasing in size or the mass, then we call it growth. And I also explained you the intrinsic and the extrinsic growth. Means if the body cell are being increasing in number, then it is intrinsic growth. And if the any material is being accumulated on the surface of the body, then it is called the extrinsic growth. And this accumulation of any substances on the body is the feature of the non living organism. Okay, now in this class I will explain you about the second feature, that is called the reproduction. It is also not the defining feature. I told you the word mean defining, that means some exceptions should be there in the feature. For example, in intrinsic growth was the exception of the growth. Due to this feature only, due to intrinsic feature, this is not the defining characteristics. Okay, now the reproduction, the next feature that I am going to start here is the reproduction. You know that reproduction means the producing the living organism of their own kind. You can say that making their progeny means making the organism of their own kind is called the reproduction. Okay, now in reproduction the number of the organisms are being increased, and this is a process that is being taking place in all the organisms, whether it is the unicellular or it is the multicellular. In all the organisms the reproduction process takes place. Now in multicellular organisms this reproduction process is very less or very similar to the unicellular organisms, but only the difference is there that in the unicellular organisms the number of the organisms is being not increasing, means all the life process are been taking place in the same organism, but in the multicellular organisms the growth and reproduction are very similar. Now we have the two types of the reproduction, asexual and the sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction means where the gametes are being not involved, there is no involvement of the gametes in the process of the reproduction, then we call it asexual reproduction. Means it is being taking place with the single organism. Got it? Now the second one is the sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction means when the gametes are being involved and are fused to do the fertilization. It means the meiosis process is being occurring, then we call it the sexual reproduction. Now we have the types of the sexual reproduction. The first one, by production of the spores. In the sexual reproduction the small spores are being forming. It is being seen in the algae and the fungi. Okay, the next one is budding. I already explained you in class 10th also the budding process, that for example in the yeast and hydra the small buds are being arising, and it has been separated from the main organism of the parental organism and living at the individual life. Now the next one is a fragmentation. Fragmentation, it is being taking place in the organisms that is have the filamentous body. Okay, for example the spirogyra. The last feature is called regeneration. Regeneration, it is a very important point of the asexual reproduction. Regeneration means making the, you all know regeneration means for making the part of the body from the detached part or the lost part. For example, we have the haircut, then it is a regeneration, but it is not a true regeneration. True regeneration means that if any organism is being formed from the lost part. For example, if our nails are being cut, then from our nails a new human being cannot be formed, so it is not true regeneration. But if we cut the hydra into 5, 6 or 8 parts, then each part will develop into the new organism, then we call it the true regeneration. Okay, now the reasons why the reproduction is not the defining feature, I told you there is the exception. For example, you know that in human beings they are the sterile human couple means they are not able to form their own child, then it means they are not the living organism. They are living organisms, not the non-living organisms, but they are not able to form the offsprings of their own kind. Understood? Reproduction, forming the organisms of their own kind, but the sterile human beings means the male and the female, those who are not capable to form their own child are the living organism, we cannot say the non-living organism, but they are not able to form their own child. So it is the exception. Now one more exception is there. For example, you might have seen the honeybee. In honeybee, the workers cannot reproduce their own child. This is all about this class. Next we'll discuss in another class.